According to Asha Akhtar, a reader for the Cambridge University Press, each year more than 115 animals are used for animal testing. Animal testing is becoming more and more of a hot topic. It receives criticism for its inaccuracy and harm of animals, but it also receives praise for its advancement in human health. So our investigative question today is, should animals be used for biomedical research? And I've concluded that no, animals should not be used for biomedical research. However, they have had positive impacts on human health. So why should we not experiment on animals? First, because it harms the animals. Second, because it destroys the environment. And thirdly, because it is inaccurate. Although it's debated how much dignity animals have, it's usually concluded that as living beings, they deserve some respect. And animal testing doesn't take this into account, for animals are put through many tests that cause them extreme pain and often premature death. A common experiment used is the Dre's eye test. Which is basically where researchers put substances near the eye of the subject to see what it will do. But according to Heather Dunnock at Lone Star College, the usual end result is blinding, scarring, or death. Another common test used is the LD50 test, which is a test to see how much dosage of a substance will kill 50% of the subjects in a certain amount of time. But according to Dunnock's article again, the end result is usually also premature death, for the researchers go about hooking up the animals to tubes that punch a large amount of the substance into their stomachs until they die. And these are just two examples of tests that are unethical towards animals. Along with hurting animals, animal testing also harms the environment, which hurts the human population. It causes air pollution, because when dead animal bodies and supplies used in testing are burned, the gas is emitted, causing air pollution. And often, the supplies and dead bodies will have chemicals from the testing, making the air pollution worse. It can also cause water pollution, because runoff from animal waste and other unwanted products from the experiments can get into rivers and nearby bodies of water, which can get into humans' water, because public water facilities usually aren't able to filter out like drugs, pharmaceuticals, and stuff like that. So therefore, humans have to deal with water contamination. So because of its harm for the environment, humans have to deal with the consequences of this pollution. And even with all these unethical costs, animal testing isn't even accurate, so it's completely unreliable in predicting what will happen in a human. For one thing, humans and animals have very different anatomies, meaning that it doesn't necessarily mean that if a drug works on an animal, it's going to work on a human, or vice versa. Another thing that can alter the test results is the laboratory conditions. According to Akhtar's 2015 article, which I mentioned at the beginning, she says that common laboratory conditions like artificial lighting, human-produced noise, and restricted housing environments, that can cause abnormal behaviors in animals because they're prevented from doing typical species behaviors, which will cause the test results to be skewed. And also, potential drugs can be abandoned if they don't work on animals, even if in reality they could be completely successful in humans. For example, Nature Review Drugs and Discovery writes in a 2003 article that tamoxifen, which is a very successful medicine for certain types of breast cancer, would surely have been withdrawn from the pipeline if it had been discovered that it causes liver tumors in rats, if it had been discovered in preclinical testing, rather when the drug had already been on the market for many years. So this shows that humans could be deprived of potentially successful treatments just because of the unreliability of animal testing. However, it should be mentioned that animal testing has caused many advances in medical health for humans. For example, animals are vital for testing for neurological conditions for humans. So for example, to test for neurological conditions such as Alzheimer's, scientists can use non-human primates to discover more about the difference between the brain. So you could compare a monkey brain and a brain of a human with Alzheimer's, which would give them more information about what's the deal with the Alzheimer's brain and how they can potentially get treatment for that. So in conclusion, we should not test on animals for biomedical research because it harms animals, destroys the environment, and is inaccurate, eliminating potentially successful treatments. However, it should be given credit for the medical advances it has created in human health. But in conclusion, we should not test on animals for biomedical research.
Big round of applause. A couple of questions. How did your research question evolve as you moved through your process? And then, did your research go in a different direction than you originally had thought?
Yeah, so my ending thesis, which was just, or my original question, which was just like, should animals be used for biomedical research? That just stayed, I started with that and I stayed that throughout my thing. But like theoretically, I could have taken it in a more specific direction. So if I found a lot of sources on like, should we experiment for brain research or like a more specific side of health, then I could have like made my question more specific. I could have had like, should we experiment on animals for brain research, something like that.
Okay, thank you. If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct related to this issue?
I think I would research more about the alternatives because I argued against animal testing, but I didn't really go into what we should do instead. So I think I'd specifically like to look into like human organs on a chip and also like the 3D printing of human organs.
Okay, thank you. Another round of applause.